Hello, everyone. I'm so happy that you could join us today. I have the lovely Miss Mariana Ruiz with us, and she made a long trip to get here, you guys. She came all the way from the other side of her home. It's gonna just give you some really good insights. I'm super excited. I just can't tell you guys how much it meant for me that she was able to take out the time to share with you some of her trade secrets and what she does really well. I find her to be a wonderful explainer. So if you're having like a complex problem or something that you're trying to get to the heart of, she's really wonderful with that. She's helped women all over the U.S. and I think in other countries, as well as expanding it into impact-driven entrepreneurs as a part of her brand, as also as a part of the people that she helps. So if you need to have impact at any part of your life, just listen up because she's got something great for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Asia. It's been awesome. I'm so honored that you asked me to be here. So essentially my background is in nursing. I climbed up the corporate ladder in nursing and got the tradition, out of the night shift and the dream job for nurses, which was having a 9-to-5 job with an office. And I was very miserable in that job. And although it looks pretty on the outside, I had a tiny baby. My son was 6 months or so at that time. And I was having to drop him off at daycare every day. I essentially saw him for an hour a day. And I was like, this is not working out for me. And then after I would put him, he'd come home, I just basically feed him and bathe him and he'd have to go to bed. And then I would either get back to my job, or I decided eventually I was going to lay down some law at my job. And I was like, I'm not going to be working more than the 40 hours. This is what you get. And then I started a side coaching business so that I would work that every night after he went down for bed. And a few months later, I ended up getting pregnant, had my daughter, and my daughter was a preemie. She was 2 pounds when she was born. It was a really tough time for me. But what ended up happening was that, blessing in disguise where I was like, well, I have this coaching thing. I can just do that. While I'm at the hospital bedside, literally pumping in the pump room in the NICU with my laptop and working on getting clients, coaching, doing all that from the NICU bedside. And because I had that, unable to literally go back to my corporate job, I just went all in on my coaching business and made that, my number one source of income. And that was about 2.5 years ago. And I've been a full-time entrepreneur since then.
Yay.
So yay, it's awesome. And I love it. And so now, when I first started, I was doing health coaching just because it made more sense with my nursing background. I had recently lost a lot of weight. And over time that transitioned into moms asking me, how are you doing this? And so I, like Asia was saying, I had the branding before was mom entrepreneurs, but what was really at the core of that was people that wanted to make a difference in the world. And so as I started attracting male clients, I was like, okay, this is getting weird with the mom thing. So I rebranded. But essentially what I do is I help people who are wanting to make a difference in the world with their message, with their business of any kind. And I mean, I've helped from dentists and high-end doctors and stuff like that, all the way to brand new business owners who are coaches or website designers and stuff like that. So just get out there and really make that difference in the world. And for me, that's what lights me up and what gets me excited every day.
I love that. And I love how you took everything as a stepping stone and you didn't say, okay, this is a challenge that I can't overcome, or this is an obstacle that is going to divert me. You took that and you engrafted that. And that's the beautiful thing about being a coach and coming at that angle. You're giving people permission to say, even though you may feel pressure from one side, you can use that to your advantage. And when you got out there just big and bold, talking that you were an introvert, and I think it was an INTJ, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's me, INTJ.
I was just right on. That you were singing my song when I heard you say that, because I think a lot of times as an introvert, it's easy to hide, or I don't know if you want to call it introvert-itis or avoid introvert-itis. or you don't want to claim the fact that you're an introvert, because it takes so much energy to do some things. And you know what it takes. You know how you have to preserve it. You know how you have to, how would you say, you have to just use it wisely throughout the day. So
Absolutely.
The other good thing I've learned about introverts is being an introvert myself, is that sometimes you're able to see things before they come. So that was the angle that I wanted to introduce you with to everyone. Is a lot of times you can see down the road before people get there. And if they can just listen to your insight and your foresight, it can save them a lot of steps.
Absolutely. And it was like, you know, I knew I was supposed to start this coaching business, but I didn't know why or how, or, I mean, I didn't. I was a nurse. You know what I mean? Like, it was not traditional. And I think it was me listening to that intuition. And I agree with you. Like, as an introvert, everybody has this superpower. And I teach a lot about sales too. And I think introverts think that they are bad at sales, when really this is your superpower in sales too. It really is, because extroverts, what happens is sometimes they talk too much.
Yeah.
Introverts, you're really good at listening. And in sales, one of the key things is to listen and really take that time to make the genuine connection. And so on that same route of introvert is, you know, take that as your superpower always.
So this is so exciting. And it was really wonderful. Like, I'm never going to get over the fact that you just owned that. And I'm always interested to hear what another INTJ says about what they enjoy. So you can tell me about your activities. If you have favorite TV shows or a singer or food, because you have a very interesting you have a very interesting experience from being all over in so many places.
Yeah, actually, so my favorite thing is traveling, and I love to try new foods when I travel. So this might gross people out, but I like when I travel, I seek to try like the weirdest foods. It is my absolute favorite thing. So when I've been to like Peru, I of course they eat guinea pig there. It's a delicacy. So I had that. I had to have it. And they eat alpaca too. So I've had that. And all kinds of things. That's how I like to explore the world and the culture, is not only like the culture, but like really, what are they eating? What are they doing? Like, I really love that about traveling. So that's my favorite pastime.
Something that I think sometimes you may be a little bit nervous about. Like, I will try a lot of places, and I've traveled a lot myself. I've been overseas a few times, and you can see so many varieties and so much love that people pour into their food. And it just makes your day so much warmer.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. That's what I mean. It's like, that just is so well put. Is like, you can really feel the love of the culture in that food. Like, you really can love it. Oh my God, that just gave me goosebumps.
So that is great. Do you have a favorite social media platform?
Facebook. I love it. I am on it all the time, and I also love running Facebook ads. And I really geek out back there with the numbers and the data and the stats, because I'm an INTJ.
When I've seen you do videos, when I've seen you do those things, the way you take a problem and you analyze it to bring it and make it relevant to your audience is critical. And that's important, because the biggest thing that I've learned is the process. Is where people tend to go off. You come up with a lot of ambition. You come up with a lot of good thoughts. You come up with a lot of advice. If you don't have your process together, all of that's just lost. And I think you do a wonderful job of connecting the dots all the way through, so people don't get lost in the midst of that. And you need that. So on your journey to having a vision board life, or having the success of having your own vision board, what do you think has brought you there?
I have grown my mindset and the way I think. It's like you said about knowing the process, yes, and really being intentional, because I can get into, well, especially when I started, analyzing like too much. And so what ended up happening is I would freak out or make decisions from a place of lack or scarcity. And that never served my business. And so what I had to do was learn about abundance. I had to learn about, I actually had to go through a spiritual journey,
Wow.
which I had never intended to come upon on this journey of entrepreneurship. But really finding my true self and being more of myself. And that has been huge. And so for me, I call it mindset work. It doesn't have to be necessarily religious or spiritual, but it's really just being intentional about what my thoughts are and what I think about different situations, and thinking on purpose.
Thinking on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bumper sticker. So what do you mean by thinking on purpose?
So essentially, I mean, when a problem comes up, it can be easy to go down the thought spiral, right? And you're a counselor, so I'm sure you know this. The thoughts of, lack, scarcity, fear, all the past experiences can come up so quickly. And so I had to get creative with, number one, putting in good thoughts and good feelings into my system, which I was not used to doing that. My background is healthcare. We solve problems quick. We don't even think about how it happened. We just go forward. And in entrepreneurship, the problems don't get solved as quickly. So you're in that process state for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's where you can start to spiral. And so for me, it's been managing those thoughts and really being intentional with how I want to think about situations. So for example, if self-doubt comes up for me, I'm going to think, you know what? I used to think I suck. This is, I shouldn't even be having self-doubt. I need to be positive. I'm attracting this negative thing because I'm going to be thinking negative thoughts. And guess what? I have completely changed that. Now when self-doubt comes up, I think to myself, I'm really proud of myself for setting a goal that is so much bigger that I actually have the opportunity to work through the self-doubt. And so that's been a totally thinking on purpose, right? Because I could think the self-doubt and then just go down the spiral. But instead, I'm acknowledging that I have set high goals for myself and that I am going places and that I'm trying to get out there in a bigger way. And that's the only reason that self-doubt has come up. If I kept playing small, I wouldn't have self-doubt, right? And so it's really just goes back to being really intentional about the thoughts. And when those process fear thoughts come through, is managing it and thinking about it in a different way.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love the reframe. And I love that because I think that a lot of times as women, particularly, we have been taught, okay, you don't do, you do all these rules. And everybody has a rule book. Your mother has a rule book. Your cousin has a rule book. Your job has a rule book. Your family has a rule book. And you better believe your 2-year-old and 3-year-old have a rule book too.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to combine all of that, make sense of it. And a lot of times as women, we get squeezed out. So if you're a busy go-getter, that's how you get to be so busy. You may not feel successful yet, even though you are. And that's a beautiful point that you're making, Mariana. A lot of women are successful. They don't give themselves credit for where they are and what they've made. The fact that you're shifting your mindset, the fact that you are pressing on to something that's brand new, you're making a new horizon. You just have to take the time and appreciate every little step. So
absolutely.
I'm all about that.
That for me has been the biggest, most transformational thing. And I think exactly what allowed me to actually create success. Because number one, I wouldn't have set high goals because I would have had so much self-doubt if I would have not changed the way I looked at things like that, right? And number two, I would definitely not, I would have let the fear win and not actually win.
And you talk about what it is for people to be in this flow. And that's something I appreciate and I share also. Is there anything in particular that makes you feel like you're having a better flow on one day than on another day?
Yeah, usually it comes down to me taking care of myself. So you talked about how women, we squeeze ourselves out of our life. And I find that when I start to prioritize everything else, including my business, I do worse in my business. And I can't get into that creative flow. And I can't get into, I can't even write a video. I can't write a blog post. Like I can't write a post. And it's funny because you look at how much content I come out with and you think, how is it possible that this girl gets stuck? And it always comes down to me not taking care of myself. And so that has come, you know, when I look at the priorities of my life, I was actually just looking at this yesterday. It's like, what am I prioritizing for this next season? And number one has to always be my mental health and my well-being.
Yeah.
First, you know, everything else is secondary because I can be the mom that snaps if I don't put myself first, right? I can be the mom that is not really present with my kids, even though I'm with my kids, right? And so for me, it's like being super intentional about my time slots and how I want to prioritize my day and my life and the alignment of my energy. That's
good. That's very good. I think everyone can take something away from that. Having intentionality is just preparation for success. If you don't, how they say that? If you don't plan to win, then you're bound to fail. I'm sure they use different words.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. And it really comes down to that. What are you doing every day, right? And especially when you're looking at that long-term business process, it's every day, just move the needle a little bit, you know, a little bit of sales, a little bit of marketing every day. And that consistent drip is what's going to create that big difference.
Cool. So you did a really good job of explaining what intentionality is. It's not overcomplicated, and I love the gift of Mariana. Do you have any other things that are blocks to your time and energy?
Yeah, and this is going to sound surprising, but I'm a coach, so I coach people. Mm-hmm. And if I take on the energy of all of my clients, that blocks all of my vision, my intentionality, and everything that I'm doing. Because, you know, I tend to be really empathic. And so if I don't create that boundary with my clients, it can be really, really weighing me down. So that is another one. And I think for a lot of introverts are probably very empathic too, or anybody who just identifies as like, and you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. If you are watching a video or if you're talking to somebody and you just get that emotional like connection, that if you're seeing patient or clients back to back to back to back, that can be a drain on my energy. So what I discovered, and this was trial, error, and a lot of mistakes, but I had all my coaching clients because as I was telling you, Asia, like I have limited daycare for my kids. And so I have essentially like 3 days a week that I work. But when I started, I literally had one day of childcare a week. So I would squeeze all my clients into the one day and take the rest of the other, you know, like before they would wake up, before the kids would wake up, and at night I would do all my marketing and stuff that I could do, like that wasn't time sensitive. Mm-hmm. But the clients, I would squeeze them all into one day. It's a great idea until you have over 11 clients. And I was seeing them back to back to back. So what I found is that I literally needed a day of recovery after that. And just, it was not my best self. And so I quickly realized that that was not going to work. So I had to change the business structure that I had. I had to change the types of clients I would allow for one-on-one. And even most importantly, I had to make time for, you know, between sessions to really like regroup myself.
For the ladies that I'm working with, and that was one of the biggest things that I tell them, be very cautious of the trap. I love the couple of traps that you talked about, the mind trap and also the time trap. Mm-hmm. And then the mind trap, of course, you will start spiraling because you just think of all these shoulds that you should be doing. And the time trap, you're just thinking, okay, I should be having all these things compressed. But that's someone else's schedule. That's someone else's rule book. That's not your rule book. Mm-hmm. And I go into extreme detail for about 20 minutes. And the latest feedback that I've gotten back was that it was just so helpful and freeing, because we tend to think that we're supposed to work all 8 hours or we're supposed to work all of this time. I totally put that to the side. I say you should work 2 to 6 hours depending on how your hormone levels are, as well as what you're doing and what you're presenting, because some things are going to pull more energy out of you. So you may only be able to commit 2 hours to computer work or whatever work because of the effect that screens are having on your adrenals. So you can get very detailed into this. 6 hours maximum work is usually what I recommend also. And that's a max. That's a heavy day.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the fact that you came out of the gate and said that, because a lot of women don't appreciate the way that their energy cycles work. Mm-hmm. Because they don't, it becomes a spiral. And that spiral pulls you until you burn out. You're just burned out.
I was fortunate enough to, at the time I was having this struggle, I was going through a coaching certification. And so I want to share what they told me, because I think if anyone listening is going through this, like, it is the most disheartening thing to think, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be this thing that I've been working on. Right. And what ended up happening is both of the teachers were PhD professors who are counselors, okay, mm-hmm. like psychologists, and they both said it's actually your superpower to be able to be in that empathetic place with them. Yes. And so it is not because you are, like, not a good coach. It's actually because you're so good at the empathy that you need to create boundaries and you need to honor your, that space for yourself. And so anyone that might be going through anything like that, just know that, like, it is okay for you to feel this way, and it's what makes you a better coach or a better practitioner.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's highly encouraging, because I see a lot of women, they start coaching and then they give up because mm-hmm. they hit a roadblock, they hit an obstacle, and there's no one else to pull them at that step. So I love the fact that you said that. And that's something to know about introvert. Like, the stronger your introversion is, usually the thinner skin is what people might say it is, but you're just picking up on waves better. And you're picking up on waves quicker. As one extrovert may be able to work a room on a more higher intensity level, because you are introverted, you can't have all of those energies surrounding you, because it's gonna make you just spin out. Mm-hmm. So there's a gift and there's a beauty to all levels of them. As long as you can appreciate where your superpower is, as Mariana is referring to, you can use that to your best ability, and it can serve you. So definitely take her advice. Don't give up. If you're feeling that crunch, just hold on to that bit of encouragement, because that is one of the best pieces of encouragement I think you can offer them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I don't know if this is the same question, because you just fed right into it. Would this be, or do you have a different one that is the biggest mistake that you see people making when they're trying to beat procrastination and build their dreams? What do you think?
Oh my gosh. The biggest mistake is overthinking. Oh. So that is what I feel is the biggest mistake. And I've totally been there on different things, right? So it's like, well, what email software should I use? Let me go and investigate 20 and then get overwhelmed at that decision. And then, you know what I mean? So it's overthinking. It really is. I mean, it can block you for weeks, months, and years is overthinking. And so make the decision and move on. And know that you have made the best decision you can right now, and give yourself the grace to not beat yourself up down the road for making a bad decision, because there is no bad decision. There's only a decision, and it's totally okay, whatever you decide. Like, it was meant to be for you. So.
And kids are so forgiving of this. I want to tell you a story. I don't know if I'm going to go into detail. Well, probably another time, but kids are very forgiving of this. They make a mistake. They're trying things, as you know, like, even from like infancy all the way up, they're willing to put things in their mouth. They're willing to touch things, and they'll go to all these different links to explore. As we get older, we tend to be more apprehensive about exploration, and then we attach a negative level to it. So we tend to bring shame, guilt, and all these other things. There's nothing wrong with exploration. Nobody's going to perish. Nothing is going to break. You just get up and try again the next day. So I think that's very good.
Love that. It's so true. They don't even care about what they break.
They don't. They'll break mine too. They'll help me explore. So that's good. Analysis paralysis is what I've heard that is named before. We can overanalyze. So if you had to start all over with visioning and you're starting all over again, can you think of 3 things that you would be focused on in order to create your vision board life now?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is, and I talked about it a little bit, but it's really being intentional with your priority. Right. What is the number one thing that is going to help the other things, right? And really allowing yourself to focus on that thing. Okay. So, you know, for me, when I started my business, honestly, it was second. You know, it was not my number one priority. My number one priority was my daughter. Well, actually, first it was, you know, at first it was, but then it didn't become it, right? My daughter was born. She came home on breathing monitors. She had heart surgery while she was in the NICU. I mean, it was intense. So my number one priority was taking care of my kids. And yes, my business was important because it allowed me to continue to do that, but it was not my number one priority. And going into that second year of business, it was like, okay, now my kids are good. They're better. I can actually get some sort of daycare and some sort of help around the house with them. And I didn't have the, oh my gosh, too bad my business isn't at $20 million yet, right? Because I released that as being my number one priority. So the first thing is get really crystal clear on your priorities. And make sure you've scheduled those and prioritize them in your day, right? Number 2, the second thing that I would do is focus on sales. So it's so important to focus on sales. I think marketing is great. Gets your name out there, builds authority, all that, but it doesn't close the money. And so in order for you to stay in business, we have to embrace and love on sales. And, for me, that took me forever to learn. So this is why I talk about it a lot. And there's a big difference, right? So that would be my number 2. And then the third thing I would do is always focus on my mind. I probably should have changed the order on that, but always my mindset, right? How am I seeing this problem? And can I be seeing it or thinking about it in a way that's going to be more helpful?
Just to put a pin and second that, I think you do a really good job in helping people get a client in 7 days. This is not what necessarily for just anyone. Let me take that back. This is basically for anyone. If you're looking to get a client online in 7 days, Mariana does a wonderful job of that. And I've seen a lot of different versions of that. Yours is one of the better ones. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, awesome. Yay. I'm actually revamping it because we're changing programs. Which, I made the wrong decision on a program for lead magnets. And guess what? It's okay. We can change, right?
Yes. Things happen. The sun rises every day. And I think that we've learned that. And that was one of the fear things that becomes an irrational fear. We learned that irrational fear. All things are going to crash. Things are going to burn. It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay. Exactly.
So how can you support people that are ready to have their vision board life today or soon coming up?
Yeah, I think that, number 1, getting clients. That's over and over what my clients have said. Number 1 thing is getting them to embrace and love on sales and do it from a place of integrity. I am not for pushy. I am not for sleazy. I'm not for any of that. So it's really about doing sales differently and doing it in a way that serves your client. Because at the end of the day, after the sale, we want to do the sale in a way that is going to set us up for the best service on the other side.
Okay, that's wonderful. Do you have anything right now that people are participating or anywhere that people should come and find you?
Yeah, you can just join our Facebook community. It's the Impact Driven Entrepreneurs group on Facebook. And right there there's a questionnaire, and so you can be added and actually get that 7 days to your next client, the PDF, and walk you through the whole thing.
Awesome. You have been brilliant as always. I'm super excited that we were able to make time to connect together. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience?
No, I think keep going, get out there, and remember you are amazing and always worthy of everything that you want.